Oh, the tables do turn.
What do you think happens when you die in a dream? It's time to find out.
Welcome back, horror fans. Netflix has been busy in 2026, dropping some absolute gems into their horror catalog. We're covering it all, from slow-burn psychological dread and supernatural mysteries to high-octane creature features and full-on B-horror splatter movies. Some of these are brand new titles premiering in just a few days, while others are legendary cult classics and modern masterpieces that have finally hit the platform. We start with the current #1 show globally, a prestige horror miniseries from the producers behind Stranger Things called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen. We have Camilla Morrone and Adam DeMarco as Rachel and Nikki during their wedding week at the family vacation home. Rachel is plagued by a growing sense of dread and bad omens, eventually discovering that her family carries a generational curse. Every bride in her bloodline must marry their true soulmate by sundown on their wedding day. But if they marry the wrong person, they bleed to death at the altar. And if they don't marry at all, the curse spreads to the groom's entire family. I'm trying not to spoil too much here, but give it time. It starts as a slow-burn psychological fever dream, and then it fully kicks in.
Ever since we got here, I feel like something weird is going on.
I want to marry you, and you want to marry me. Isn't that all that matters?
One of the most anticipated horror sequels, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, officially hit Netflix on March 31st, 2026. We pick up nearly 3 decades after the original outbreak and follow a new group of survivors who have heard rumors of a safe zone deep in the mountains. But they quickly discover it's actually a massive, horrifying monument known as the Bone Temple. It's also ruled by a faction that has found a way to coexist with the infected in the most twisted way possible. Directed by Nia DaCosta and written by Alex Garland, it's a visceral, psychological masterclass that proves the real nightmare isn't just the rage virus, it's what we become to survive it. It's currently the highest-rated prestige horror title of the year, and it might be the best for people who like atmospheric, gritty storytelling rather than just constant jump scares. May 16th marks the Netflix debut of Black Phone 2. Everything starts when Finney answers a ghostly black phone that hooks him into a dark history he never expected. The grabber, the sadistic magician and serial killer who has returned as a supernatural ghost demon, returns to the site of his first 1957 murders at Alpine Lake Camp to seek revenge and feed on the fear of a new generation. To stop him, Gwen and Finney must locate the hidden bodies of his original 1957 victims. Ethan Hawke delivers an even scarier performance as a supernatural version of his legendary killer. It's a splatter horror that heavily relies on practical effects, capturing that gritty B-horror movie vibe that I really enjoy, and I believe a lot of us do.
You killed me. It took me a long time. But you of all people know that dead is just a word.
On May 1st, Netflix added Ouija, Origin of Evil, an amazing supernatural horror from director Mike Flanagan, the mastermind behind The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass. We follow Alice Zander, a widowed mother who runs a phony seance business with her 2 daughters to help people find closure. To spice up the act, they add a board to the mix, but accidentally invite a malevolent spirit that takes over the youngest daughter, Doris. The house actually sits on top of a secret basement where a patient doctor performed horrific experiments decades ago, and Doris becomes a direct conduit for those angry spirits. As her behavior turns violent, it becomes clear that Doris isn't just talking to spirits, she's being consumed by them. Flanagan prioritized practical effects to make the horror feel visceral and grounded. He even said that Lulu Wilson was so naturally gifted at being scary that her whispering in the ear scene was one of the most unsettling moments he had ever filmed.
Want to hear something cool?
Sure.
Do you know what it feels like to be strangled to death? First, you feel the pressure in your throat. And you start to taste something.
On May 1st, Netflix finally added Under the Skin, a haunting, surreal masterpiece from director Jonathan Glazer, the guy who just won an Oscar for The Zone of Interest. We follow Scarlett Johansson as an alien predator disguised as a beautiful woman, driving a white van through the cold streets of Scotland. She lures lonely men into her vehicle, but instead of a hookup, they're led into a pitch-black liquid void where they're harvested for a shadowy, otherworldly purpose. What makes this movie so unnerving is how it was filmed. Glazer used hidden cameras to capture real, unscripted interactions between Scarlett Johansson and unsuspecting men on the street, most of whom had no idea they were talking to a Hollywood star. It's considered one of the best art house sci-fi movies ever made, a masterclass in atmosphere, blending a cold, psychological horror with a story that sticks with you long after the credits roll.
Come to me.
Released in 2016 and added to Netflix on May 1st, 2026, Don't Breathe is one of the best psychological horror films I've seen. We have three small-time thieves who hear about a blind war veteran, played by Stephen Lang, living alone with $300,000 in cash. They think it's the easiest score of their lives, but they quickly discover that the blind man is actually a highly trained, lethally efficient former Navy SEAL. What follows is a claustrophobic survival nightmare. As they try to escape through the basement, they discover a horrifying secret that changes everything. Directed by Fede Alvarez, the same visionary who helmed the 2013 Evil Dead reboot, it was one of the biggest financial hits of its time, especially considering it had a $10 million budget, but grossed over $160 million worldwide. It is truly a masterclass in tension and suspense.
Who's there?
Stay right there.
How many of you are there?
It's just me, man, all right? Just let me go, please. Okay, I swear to God.
On May 21st, The Boroughs premiered on Netflix, an 8-episode series from the Duffer Brothers, the creators of Stranger Things. We have Alfred Molina as Sam Cooper, who is sent to a peaceful retirement home by his family. But after witnessing a terrifying, unexplainable encounter in the desert at night, he realizes the community is being stalked by an entity, and no one believes him. Because the staff and local authorities dismiss the residents as confused or senile, Sam has to form his own squad of unlikely heroes. While this isn't your typical slasher, it's packed with horror elements, blending adventure, drama, fantasy, and sci-fi. Plus, considering the amazing cast, I have really high expectations for this one.
It's here.
What's it doing?
It's looking at us.
Oh my God.
Added to Netflix on May 1st, Insidious, the last key is the film that finally takes us back to where it all began for Elise Renier. She's forced to confront her own history when a man living in her childhood home reports a malevolent presence. As she investigates, she realizes the entity she's hunting is the same demon she accidentally released as a kid, a creature known as Keyface. He doesn't just kill, he uses key-shaped fingers to lock his victims' voices and souls away in a prison realm within the Further. It's a deep dive into Elise's tragic past, bridging the gap between the prequels and the original 2010 film. This was the first Insidious movie where Lin Shaye was the undisputed lead, cementing her as a legendary final girl of the modern era.
Elise, there's someone right in front of you. I don't see anything. Be careful. You're going to touch it.
Next, we're heading into some international horror with Mudborn, a modern-day Taiwan folk horror which you might also see titled as Clay Doll. We have Tony Yang as a VR game planner that brings home a broken clay doll he found at a haunted mansion while scanning assets for a horror game. His pregnant wife, a professional restorer, becomes compulsively obsessed with fixing the doll, unaware it contains a generational curse. Based on a famous creepy Taiwanese nursery rhyme called Ni Wai Wa, it is the third highest grossing domestic film in Taiwan for 2025, earning over $100 million. A massive feat, considering it heavily relies on practical makeup and sets. On the #1 spot, we have what started with a 4chan image that inspired countless games called The Backrooms. We have Clark, a furniture store owner who discovers a null zone or entry point inside a wall of his building. He seeks help from his therapist, played by Renate Reinsve, who eventually becomes directly involved and enters the dimension to find him. A24 hired director Kane Parsons, who is the youngest director to ever lead an A24 feature film. He combined traditional cinematography with the grainy, VHS-style, found footage aesthetic that made the YouTube series famous. Fans, including myself, have high expectations for this.
It's beautiful. Am I right?
Hello?
These are the horror movies added to Netflix in 2026 so far. Thank you for watching and for all your support. It really means a lot. We'll meet again next week for more nightmares. Stay safe.